Prime Creator of all that is, we thank you for this day. We thank you for bringing us together and for the progress we are making. There is commitment and love and joy in our hearts that we are here together doing this work. We acknowledge the greatness of the power within our spirit that is you, and we are humbled and honored to know our station. Let it be so, and so it is.
Hello, my name's Ron Vrooman. I'm the old white man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. Talking to the sheriffs. Let's talk about since 1947 on Oregon. What happened? Well, there was the Bar Treaty of 1947. The attorneys got together and they changed the law form. They changed it from common law to statutory law. And the last common law case tried was in Florida in 1952, to the best of my knowledge. I remember that from private attorney generals across America. So the Bar Treaty in 1947, the creation of the CIA, 1947, the adoption of MK Ultra, 1947, the peacetime military, 1947, and Operation Paperclip, 1947, the importation of Nazis after World War II to the United States, engineers and scientists, someplace between 1,600 and 30,000 Nazis and their families were brought to this country. It's where the saying was, when Sputnik went up, the Russian German scientists were better than the American German scientists. That's not cool. When you look around the Department of Justice and the FBI and various other places, you find a really lot of German last names. I'd like to follow up on some of those Germans in the FBI and in the CIA. I'd like to find out if their parents and grandparents came over with the paperclip. Be interesting to know. Enemies from within. We got a bunch of them on Oregon. We've had them here since 1861. They doubled down in 1910 when they did Article 7 amended. Things are changing. The Fifth Appellate in SCOTUS determined that the SEC versus Jarsky 603 U.S. 109 in 2024. They denied that the administrative courts that we have are legitimate. They must have Amendment 7 juries. That's what SCOTUS says. We haven't had a lawful court on Oregon until our Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly Article 3, Amendment 7, Civilian Common Law Court of Record came upon the scene in 2018. We've had 10 grand juries, 9 grand juries, and 10 Article 3, Amendment 7 courts with verdicts. We are doing the job. We haven't found a sheriff yet that's willing to do his job or her job. I find that interesting and strange also. We have 4 women sheriffs that I can name off the top of my head. And all 3 of the largest counties, Washington, Clackamas, and Multnomah, have a female sheriff. I find that interesting also. Sheriffs have swapped their job the same way, with one exception, maybe 2 now. The sheriff retires, they appoint who it is they want to be sheriff next, and then that person runs as incumbent and gets elected, all except once. And that was over in Bend, Deschutes County. The guy that was appointed didn't get elected. Seems the chief of police from Bend got elected to be sheriff for one time. And then he was out, and the one they wanted in was in. And now they just removed the sheriff on Deschutes. Interesting what's going on there. So we want to talk about how the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly is going to return Oregon to a constitutional Republican form of government. Well, we can't do it. That's not our function. Our function as a court is to do our job. Sheriffs are the one to do their job. If the sheriffs are lying, cheating, and stealing, which they are, not one out of the 36 sheriffs that we know of have been able to do the job of fulfilling the requirements to be sheriff. We are specifically doing 9. Not big enough, not well financed enough to do all 36 at once. So we did 9. And we're still doing those 9. We've been working on those 9 for months. And not one of them is willing to take a proper oath to the proper Constitution with the laws of nature and nature's God included, DPSST and all that is required, county HR and the recorder. Not one of you have completed the assignment. We've had sheriffs on Oregon for a really long time, and they know what is required, and they don't do it. They're all bogus. That's a lie. When you do things like that, you're cheating. You're cheating us. So you're lying, cheating, now you're stealing. You have to be stealing. You're taking money to do a job that you can't do, you pretend to do. You don't have a posse, you don't have deputies because you're not legitimate. Now, how can that be? That comes from all that I just read you that started in 1947. They doubled down after the Second World War. Harry Truman was the president following FDR. And he was reelected in 1948, and they thought a guy named Dewey was. They even printed the newspaper. And Harry remained the president until 52, and Eisenhower took over. And when Harry left office, he drove himself home to Missouri. And he drove himself home to live in the house that his wife had inherited from her mother. He didn't leave Washington, D.C. with millions, like all those that leave that job now. The ones that leave that job now are multimillionaires. They do evil on the job and they're rewarded, just like the senators and the House of Representatives. So we come back to Oregon. We returned Oregon legitimately, the proper way, with Article 1, Section 1, and we have been doing our best as a court to require the sheriffs to do their job. We're not succeeding. We're working diligently at it and not succeeding. There's probably 4 or 5 assemblies on Oregon, all doing one thing or another, but they're not looking to return Oregon to a constitutional Republican form of government. That's the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. And we've notified everybody. By that I mean the U.S. Department of Justice. We've been working with them, and they don't like it since 2017. We've been doing our best to get our sheriffs to be a proper sheriff since 2017. We've had a court since 2018. 9 grand juries and 10 trials with verdicts. Our sheriffs are lying, cheating, and stealing. And they don't want to stop. We're working with 9 and they won't stop. I find that to be incredible. All they have to do is do the right thing. Determine that they need a proper oath, they need to fulfill the requirements of the Constitution, DPSSD, and so forth, and keep their oath. What they've done before, that was before. We can't change what's happened since 1910. Remedy's the best we can go for. Justice is not going to be available. Everything that's happened between 1910 and 1861, we can't get justice for that. We can find remedy, and that's the chore. To determine how to do that, we have succeeded in doing that. We know we have to have our sheriffs on our side to return Oregon to a constitutional Republican form of government. And that's all we're doing is Oregon. The folks in Missouri and Minnesota have to do Missouri and Minnesota. The folks on Oregon can't do that, but we can sure as hell do Oregon, and we have. The U.S. DOJ downtown Portland has been dealing with us, and not happily, since 2017. When Trump decided to clean the swamp in Washington, which he failed at, we decided to do the same thing on Oregon. And we started with the Department of Justice downtown, a guy named Seth Urim. And we met with them several times, lots of times. We met with the U.S. Marshals. We went out to the FBI and they won't meet with us. We've gone to the Provost Marshal and Rocky met with us. We've met with several sheriffs. They all know. So it's misprision of felony. They actually know because we told them and we have proof of service. They know they are supporting an illegitimate de facto government. It's governance by criminals. They all know what they're doing. They're in the de facto, illegal and illegitimate, and they don't wish to correct. It must pay really good to be a criminal and a crook in the Department of Sheriff of every single county of the 36. How can I say that about them? Because it's true. They have to correct themselves. Here on Oregon, we're not going to be able to correct all the other stuff, but we can do Oregon. And the other folks have to do their states. And we can return this to a constitutional Republican form of government, but we can't do it alone. We have to have the help of the sheriffs. And that's their responsibility, not ours. We have found and determined, and we didn't do it by ourselves. This was found out a long time ago. Lots of people have known. I think all those that have been elected to the office of Senate or Rep on Oregon knew. And they want to pretend they didn't. Just like the sheriffs want to pretend they're legitimate, and they're not. They can't look us in the eye and provide their bona fides. They're not qualified. They need to become qualified. The entire legislature, 89 out of 90, Mike Neerman, he let us in. I was there that day. William got so close he got pepper sprayed. That was not good. It hasn't been good for years. But it's going to get better. It's going to get returned to a constitutional Republican form of government this year, 2025. And I yield.
Hi, my name is Eric Dover with the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. This is an open letter to the Oregon sheriffs. Where are our sheriffs? For the last several months, we have posted and made available what we worked on as a proper oath for the persons in our governance. Sheriffs are our first effort at our insisting on a proper oath, for it is the sheriffs who are here in their county position to protect and defend the people. Protect from what? You, some might say. From ticketing or sending people to the illegitimate amended Article 7 courts that should not be. From governance overreach and taxation that they should assist seniors in the prevention of their eviction from their loss of equity, their forever home, and all they possess. Our Article 3, Amendment 7 Civilian Common Law Court of Record has made numerous visits and relentless communications to our county sheriffs in Oregon to offer a remedy for the victimization of the people. How, you might ask? It's like a shift in the mind. It is the recognition of one's allegiance to life and that which is God-given, rather than criminalizing living God-made beings for a dead corporate entity. Our sheriffs are our first protection against governance overreach. The significance of elected government officials taking a proper oath to the original jurisdiction Constitution, circa 1859, is a tremendous recognition. The oath, then, is a promise to our God self, to our Creator God, and to people, not persons. Such a dejuration, taking a solemn oath, is needed for there to be a remedy in our authoritative system of governance. Once a sheriff can make the shift, they can see themselves among the people rather than a corporate entity meant to enforce our compliance to the bidding of the state. This cognition promises to be a release of tension, greater freedom, and cooperation. Let it be so.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying. And then he jumps out of the car. And he's got both his hands up.
And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, just shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I fought. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, they shot him 3 more times.